Hello students and welcome to today's science lecture. In the previous lectures we have dealt with the topic called as respiration. But today we will be dealing with a very important topic called as the process of transportation. This process of transportation takes place in unicellular as well as multicellular organisms, whether it is plants and animals. In multicellular organisms, which consist of a single cells, the gases and the food which is taken up is transported or moved over very short distances. But in multicellular organisms, which consist of millions and billions of cells, the food, hormones, waters, minerals, etc. they need to be transported or they need to move over large distances so that each and every cell is supplied with important elements, nutrients, food to ensure their survival. So what is actually transportation? In biology, transportation can be defined as the movement of substances made or absorbed in one part of the body to another where it is needed. So this process of transportation, it takes place in animals as well as in plants, whether it is unicellular or multicellular. So in this lecture we will be dealing how this process of transportation takes place in plants. Since plants, they are fixed at a place, they do not require much energy in compared to animals. Also, the water and minerals they require are taken up with the help of the roots through which the water and the minerals dissolved in it are taken up and supplied to each and every part of the plant body. Similarly, the food which is made in the mesophyll part of the leaves where it is photosynthesized is transported to other parts like stem, roots, leaves, flowers, buds where it is required for respiration, since plants carry out the process of respiration individually. Now, one by one, we will be discussing how the process of transportation takes place in plants. So, before starting the topic, there's one thing to know, that there are two important things that plants need. First is the water and minerals. So, one by one we will dealing how the process of transportation of water and minerals takes place. And the next important thing is the food. So, then we will be dealing how the process of transportation of food in plants takes place. So, first of all, we will be dealing how the process of transportation in plants takes place. So, transportation of water and minerals in plants takes place with the help of a very important and unique conducting tissue called as the xylem tissue. This xylem tissue is mainly responsible for the transport of water and minerals in plants. So, we can say the conduction of water and minerals in plants takes place with the help of xylem tissue. Now, this xylem tissue, it further consists of two important elements. The first is the xylem vessels. And the second is the tracheids. So, these xylem vessels, what is the structure of these xylem vessels? These xylem vessels are actually very elongated cells. Due to their elongated structure, they appear like a drain pipe. So, these tissues the xylem vessels, they form like a drain pipe and they run from the roots to the stem to the leaves as well. So these xylem vessels, they are dead and the cell wall, it is made up of two most important things. The first is the cellulose and the other is lignin. So the cell walls of xylem vessels are made up of cellulose and lignin, which means they are lignified walls, very thickened walls, which means they also provide mechanical support to the plant body. Secondly, some of the parts in the xylem vessels, they have a very thin layer of cellulose and lignin deposition, and these areas are called as pits. One more part, that the end walls of these cells are completely broken down, which means there is no cell wall between the cells. The end walls of the cells are broken down. The end walls of the cells are broken down, due to which they form a continuous conducting tissue like a drain pipe. Since these xylem vessels, they do not consist of either cytoplasm or nuclei. Now, second important element is the tracheids. These tracheids, they have slender structures. They have tapering ends. These are called as the tapering ends. Okay. Now these structures, they have small pores-like structures, and these pores-like structures are in plants. In tracheid elements are called as pits. Through these pits only, the transport of water and minerals takes place, or the seeping of water and minerals takes place in plants. Now, how this was the structure of the xylem tissue. Now, how many layers are involved in the transport? There are many different layers which are involved in the transport of water and minerals in a plant. What are those layers? We will be discussing about those. So mainly there are four important layers. The first is the epidermis. This epidermis, it is the outermost layer of cells. Second layer is the root cortex. Root cortex. This root cortex layer, it lies between the epidermis and endodermis. The third layer is called as the endodermis. And this endodermis layer, it surrounds the vascular tissue. And the last layer which is present in the roots are called as the root xylem. So this root xylem, it is called as the innermost layer. This is the innermost layer of cells. Now what happens? Now through these layers, 4 layers of cells only, the transport of water and minerals is taking place. How this is happening? So since the plants this is the structure of a plant, let us suppose. So the plants, they have roots. The soil also have small cellular spaces, have small spaces between them, and these spaces in the soil, they consist of water, they hold water. Now these roots, they have a special structures, hair-like structures, and these hair-like structures are called as root hairs. These root hairs, they are directly in contact with these water droplets present in the soil, and these root hairs, they absorb this water from the soil along with the dissolved minerals. Now, after being absorbed into the root hairs, these, the water and the minerals, is passed to the epidermis layer, to the root cortex layer, from the root cortex to the endodermis, and from the endodermis to the root xylem. This root xylem, it is directly in contact with the stem xylem. And this stem xylem is further branched into the leaves xylem. And this is how the transport of water and minerals takes place with the help of roots. So now, how this water is absorbed? This water is absorbed with the help of a pressure, a force called as the suction pressure. It is similar to the pressure when we sip a cold drink. What happens when we drink a cold drink with the help of a straw? We apply pressure. So the pressure upwards gets reduced and the pressure in the straw downwards increases. So due to this difference pressure, what happens? The cold drink, it moves up the straw. Similarly here, what happens? The leaves, they consist of a small pores, and these small pores are called as stomata. From these stomata, what is happening? The continuous process of losing of water is taking place, and this continuous losing of water is called as transpiration. Due to this transpiration, what happens? The pressure in the leaves, it becomes low, and here the pressure is high. Due to this difference in pressure, the water moves up, and this water and minerals are called as xylem sap. So the transport of xylem sap takes place due to the difference in this pressure. Now we will be discussing how the process of transportation of food and hormones, it takes place in plants. Actually, the transport of food takes place with the help of one important conducting tissue, and this important conducting tissue is called as the phloem tissue. Now, one more important thing to know, that the transportation of food is called as translocation. Translocation. This phloem tissue is responsible for the translocation of food, for the translocation process in plants, if we call it. Now, this phloem, it consists of sieve tubes. Now, what is sieve tubes? It is also elongated cell-like structure. The cell walls of these sieve tubes, these are sieve tube. These are sieve tube. Their cell walls consist of cellulose, but they do not consist of lignin, which means they do not provide any mechanical support. But the xylem vessels, they provided mechanical support. Now what happens? The end walls of these sieve tube elements are not completely broken down. Instead, they have a porous structure, and due to this porous structure, what is happening? The transportation of food takes place through this porous structure, and these porous structure are called as sieve plates. Now what happens when the food, now it is through these pores that these sieve plates, that the transport of food is taking place. Now what happens? These sieve plates, they do not consist of a nucleus, but instead they consist of a small structure called as small cell, another cell with it, and this cell is called as companion cell. And this companion cell, it consists of a nucleus which fulfills many requirements of the sieve tube elements. Now, this sieve tube elements are mainly responsible Now how the transportation of food is taking place? It is through these phloem conducting tissue which consists of sieve tube. The sieve tubes are the building blocks of the phloem. So now what happens? Once the food once once what happens? Once the food is made in the leaves, what happens? This food, it is loaded into the sieve tubes with the help of energy or ATP, which means the loading of food into the stem is an energy requiring process, and it takes place with the help of ATP. Now once this food it is loaded into the sieve tube elements, what happens? The water rushes in through the process of osmosis. Now due to the pressure of the water containing the sugar, this food is moved to different parts, either downwards to the roots, stem, also to the upper stem and to the flowers, fruits. So this is how the transport of food takes place. So in the next topic we will be dealing with how the transport of food takes place in animals. Thank you and have a nice day.